the attack on Masjid Musa was unwarranted and unjustifiable.
The raid on a Mombasa mosque draws mixed reactions.
And gloom for private schools' top performers as they miss out on places in national secondary schools.
The government should stop or should cease treating us like illegal businesses.
Bar and restaurant owners now threaten to go to court over the breathalyzer.
And why Bensouda is not giving up on President Uhuru Kenyatta's ICC case.
This is KTN Prime with Nancy Kacungira and Ben Kitili.
Good evening from the Standard Group Center here in Nairobi, and many thanks for joining us on KTN Prime.
Yes, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Nancy Kacungira. Our sign language interpreter this evening is William Silla. Now we begin with news that over 100 people, including minors, will spend tonight in remand cells in Mombasa following yesterday's clashes at the Masjid Musa mosques.
Now, the suspects were arraigned in court on charges of terrorism, with the police insisting that age will not be a factor in their investigations. We are working on that story, which I'll be giving you details a little later in this live newscast. And in Nairobi, the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims condemned the rioting in Mombasa, terming them acts of criminality.
And the arrest of the youth allegedly attending a radicalization convention has kicked off concerns that the country could be a breeding ground for homegrown terrorism.
KTN's Dennis Onsorigo reports. We shall be bringing that story a little later in this bulletin. Let's switch gears a bit now and take a look at what's happening in the education sector as Form 1 pupils, students attend school for the first day. Now, a Parents Association says it is ready to sue the Ministry of Education and the Teachers Service Commission of what it terms as illegal fees charged by public schools.
That's right. And tonight, KTN's Angel Katusia asks, just how free is free education?
It's a dilemma that is facing parents whose children have been admitted to public secondary schools this year to celebrate their children's exemplary performance and admission to the top cream of Kenyan schools, or to despair over the rise in school fees charged at these schools. For instance, parents of students in Moi Girls Eldoret will have to part with 68,449 shillings as fee for the first term and 23,718 shillings for the second term. There are no charges in the third term, and thereby a student in Moi Girls Eldoret will pay 92,167 shillings per year. This amount is far more than the fees recommended by the Ministry of Education. The ministry's guidelines recommend that public schools charge 18,000 shillings per year. In the case of more girls in Eldoret, if the government tops up the recommended 10,265 shillings, the fee will amount to 102,432 shillings per year.
In secondary, we are giving schools 10,265 to cater for specific areas of tuition materials, teaching learning materials, electricity, water, and to some extent some small portion for salaries of some key workers.
But it is not only Moi Girls that is charging such high fees. School fees in many public secondary schools have soared to as high as 100,000 shillings, driven by new levies introduced by head teachers. Stakeholders say the government gave Kenyans a raw deal. This even as the Kenya National Parents Association says it will not give up its push for the government to keep its pledge of offering free basic education.
We are raising some fundamental issues that I believe the government itself, plus the president himself, must now come to reality.
Section 28, Cap 1 of the Basic Education Act 2013 states that the Cabinet Secretary shall implement the right of every child to free and compulsory education, and by basic meaning pre-primary, primary and secondary. But is the government capable of providing free basic education, and can the schools run on the minimal funds from the government? But with the government maintaining its current contribution to schools, and with schools charging extra levies to ease the operations, parents and students are forced to seek cheaper options that don't guarantee maximum returns in the future. Angel Katusia, KTN.
Still on education, the promise of the 844 education system is this: good schools for good grades. However, this promise appears to be slowly fading away with the quota admission system. Pauline Sinelwa is one of the pupils from private primary schools who scored high marks in the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examinations. But as Betty Kialo now reports, Pauline was not admitted to a national secondary school.
It is what every parent would dream of: straight A's for their child. And for Pauline's parents, their dream became a reality when she scored 425 marks in the 2013 KCPE examination. It is after receiving the news of their daughter's success that they extended their generosity to their daughter's former school, Booker Academy.
When we got that result, we were indeed excited, very, very excited as a family, to the extent that we actually donated a live bull to the school B, because that to us was major.
Pauline was not only top in her school, but was also in the top 100 nationally. It was a no-brainer that she was heading straight to a high-ranking school. However, that ended up as a pipe dream.
We believe 425 marks for a girl who we have been told by one of the officials in the ministry is among the top 100 is not a replacement material.
I am disappointed because 425 as a mark, it doesn't deserve the second selection.
After several visits to the Ministry of Education, Pauline's father secured an appointment with the Director of Secondary and Tertiary Education, Robert Masese, who promised to resolve the matter. However, a week after the meeting, her parents discovered that she had been placed at Mumias Girls High School, a district school whose cut-off mark was way below her 425 marks.
There's no way a child with 435 would have gone to a sub-district school. We're giving equal opportunity to children of this country, whether they went to private or to public primary schools.
Pauline is just one of the many students who may have been affected by the quota system employed in selecting students to join public secondary schools. According to the ministry, the quota system is expected to offer equitable share of placement in the national schools for pupils from both private and public primary schools. However, critics argue that this system is discriminatory, especially to pupils from private schools who have undersport in the 78 national schools. For now, Pauline's parents hope that she will be placed in a school that matches her exemplary academic performance. Betty Kialo, KTN.
Well, away from education matters, in the face of calamity, Turkana County's potential has yet again been thrust on the spotlights, and Kenyans are grappling with the reality of a region so rich, facing the hardest of times. Tonight, KTN's Asha Mulu looks into the promising future of Turkana County and the hope that lies ahead.
Turkana's is a story of two extremes. A story born of dust, but desperately clinging onto the hope of gold, liquid gold. Nature's irony in this county cannot be overstated. It's a region almost synonymous with dry spells, experienced by some from generation to generation. But then a glimmer of hope hinted at an end to this vicious cycle.
Our country has made a major breakthrough in our oil exploration.
Turkana struck black gold, oil. And months later, the lucky streak continued. A huge water source was discovered in the arid region. The government said the aquifers could sustain the entire country for 70 years. But even with all the good news, the irony still continues. More than 90,000 people in the region are facing starvation.
Kwa mimi hapa nikaambiwa iko maji imepatikana hapa. Lakini sasa vile maji imepatikana mpaka saizi yeye amekaa akiongojea hii maji lakini haoni.
For oil it may take 3, 4, 5 years because the commerciality not yet established. The second one is that the pipeline system also has to be developed.
Turkana Governor Josephat Nanok knows how high the stakes are for his people. Their hopes are pegged on the recent discoveries of oil and water. He says the water discovered in Lotipik is not fit for human consumption and can only be used for irrigation. In Napu village, however, the aquifer holds pure water, safe for domestic use.
For the other main aquifer, which has more than 100 billion cubic liters, it's not yet because the quality issues are still not yet finalized.
So as the hunger bites, the hope is that this will be the last dry spell that will render the Turkana people helpless. Hope that perhaps the Turkana story can finally have a happy ending. Ashamwilu, KTN.
And now for a story that's received a lot of social media attention. Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero has welcomed the move by Nairobi Women Representative Rachel Shebesh to forgive him over last year's City Hall altercation. Referring to Shebesh as his sister, Kidero says that he is ready to work with her and put the past behind them. At a church service on Sunday, Shebesh announced that she had unconditionally forgiven the Nairobi Governor.
My sister, Honorable Rachel Shebesh, did announce a reconciliation pact yesterday, which I quickly accepted, and I did call Rachel, and we had a very good discussion, and I even confirmed it in writing. It was on my Twitter handle, and it was on my SMS. I think it is, Rachel is a forward-looking leader, and the way she said that this has come in the way of development is that this reconciliation ensures that the hiatus that we had is behind us and we can work together for the development of the people of Nairobi.
Let's come back to the events of yesterday in Mombasa. And here in Nairobi, the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslim condemned the rioting in Mombasa, terming them acts of criminality. The arrest of the youth allegedly attending a radicalization on convention has kicked off concerns that the country could be a breeding ground for homegrown terrorism. Ktn's Dennis Onsarego reports.
The fact that there were leaflets posted around Majengo area calling on the youth to attend a meeting at the Masjid Musa Mosque raises concerns among residents of the coastal town and a police service that is trying to contain rising cases of radical young men. The meeting was not as secret, and security officers had got wind of it, and by Sunday morning they had an idea of what the convention was all about. While the police say they recovered weapons, flags and other materials and arrested over 200 young men allegedly undergoing radicalization, Muslim scholars say the government could be taking a shortcut in stemming an emerging radicalization tide.
Jailing them is not a solution, because at the end of the day, they'll be released. And because it is an ideology, it remains there in their mind. They will want to implement whatever. In fact, they will come out more radical than ever.
Abdirogo is among several Muslim clerics accused by the government of radicalizing youth in Mombasa. The clerics have been killed under mysterious circumstances. The killings have contained the radical sermons, but have not contained those already radicalized.
It is the responsibility of the government to study, not kill. Shoot to kill is not a solution. How many people will you kill? Okay, and the more you kill, people will come, because it's an ideology believing that when I am killed, I will go to paradise. So it's an issue of changing people's ideology.
Indeed, scenes like this where the youth are left to bury religious leaders they have come to identify with and entrench sermons by the slain clerics has made policing such a daunting task.
People should be taken to a certain center whereby they will be counseled. they'll be cancelled by scholars, by politicians, by elders people, because these things never used to be there.
Then there's the reality of more than 1,000 men in the country that have fought alongside and against transitional forces in Somalia before the fall of the Islamic Courts Union in 2006. Some of the youth were enlisted with the help of the Kenyan government. They are still at large. Lack of employment and a general state of hopelessness among a large population of young people in Mombasa and its environs has also turned thousands of innocent minds into the hands of those out to exploit them in the name of religion. Experts are warning that clamping down on radical youth for now might be a first step towards containing them, but the clampdown is likely to harden their resolve to fight back. Denson Sarigo, KTN Prime.
Now, the Alcoblow crackdown, as it's commonly referred to, has been credited with the reduction of road accidents in Nairobi. But business people in the hospitality industry are now crying foul, and they want the Alcoblow suspended.
Patrick Muya is a proprietor of Tamasha and Buffet Park, a business he has built over 15 years in the challenge-fraught hospitality and entertainment sector in Kenya.
It's viewed by some members of the public and some people in authority. It's viewed as an illegal or as a sin business.
But all this is nothing compared to the challenge that has been brought forth by the Alcoblow crackdown, which seeks to curb drunk driving and reduce road accidents. According to the National Transport and Safety Authority, the number of accidents has reduced by 40% this year compared to other years, a fact that many Kenyans cite as the reason why the police should continue enforcing the Alcoblow crackdown to deter people from drinking and driving.
Mimi naunga mkono polisi kutumia Alcoblow. Let the police continue because so many accidents have just occurred because of too much alcohol.
But in Muya's view, the Alcoblow gadget is merely a tool that can be used to exploit innocent motorists.
The Alcoblow is targeting private motorists and is concentrated in some upmarket residential areas where police and breakdown operators can reap big.
He also points out that the crackdown is targeting city roads as opposed to being put on the major highways where a majority of accidents occur. And now members of the Pubs, Entertainment and Restaurant Association of Kenya, or PERAC, have begun feeling the pinch as fearful revelers give the establishment a wide berth. The result has been the reduction in the number of patrons visiting the establishments in the last 2 months, a fact they say has hurt sales and put the survival of the sector into question.
Most of the members that are here, including myself, we have over 200 staff members. Personally, I'm thinking of reducing 100 because we cannot cope.
And because the sector is an indirect employer of thousands more upstream, like suppliers, farmers and transporters, the crisis could spread into other sectors of the economy and could have a multiplier effect that leads to joblessness and increased poverty. The players are now calling on the government to suspend the implementation of the gadget temporarily so there can be proper consultations with all players in the sector to ensure everyone is on the same page on the safety issue and that businesses in the hospitality sector can also thrive in the process.
To treat our industry with respect. We are investors. We have invested billions of shillings. We are employing thousands of Kenyans. The government should stop or should cease treating us like illegal businesses.
The government introduced the Alcoblow device as a way to curb drunken driving on Kenyan roads, but the application of the device is having an adverse impact on the hospitality and entertainment sector. A balanced approach is now required so that motorists on the road are taken care of and also business owners do not suffer in the process. Adelaide Changole, KTN Business.
Well, that story on the Alcoblow operation leads us to our big question tonight. We're asking you whether you support the proposals for the suspension of Alcoblow. And you can send your yes or no response. Also add a brief comment to the number 22155. You can also tweet us. My handle is @Kacungira. You can tweet Ben @Ben_Kitili. Also add @KTN Kenya to that. And we'll be looking at some of your views during this newscast. And towards the end, we'll give you the poll results as well. well and find out what you have to say about this issue. Right now, though, we're going to look at two different sides of the alcohol blow issue. In the studio with me, I have Francis Major, who is the Registrar of Motor Vehicles, and I have Patrick Muya, who is the Chairman of the Pubs, Entertainment and Restaurant Association of Kenya. Rather long name there, but thank you, gentlemen, for coming. And since we have both of you in the studio, I'd like us to take a look at both sides of this issue and look at the arguments for and against. So I'll start with you, Mr. Muya. Mr. Muya, what is the problem with the breathalyzer operation?
Thank you. Let me state from the outset that our association or industry is in support of the government efforts towards curbing alcohol-related accidents. However, we have exception. We take exception on the implementation method. The way we have seen for the last 1.5 months is it's more about arresting people and towing cars than preventing an accident. When I travel from my home area, let's say I'm coming from Nanyuki, I come all the way to Nairobi, and as I reach Nairobi, going to my gate in South Sea, Runda, High Ridge, I found a breathalyzer check. Now, my question is this person interested really in saving my life? I have driven all the way from Nanyuki. I never saw a check anywhere. I never saw it in Karatina, in Sagana, in Makuyu, in Juja. I'm finding it at the gate of my house with a towing truck waiting. So it is the method that we are taking exception. And if it's not addressed, yes, we will keep on arresting more and more people, but accidents will not reduce because the actual places where these accidents occur, we have not seen breathalyzer checks. Instead, they are in Nairobi estates.
So, Mr. Major, do you agree that there are some implementation issues with the breathalyzer tests?
Well, I think to me, I must say that we are impressed with the results that we have seen from the breathalyzer.
So, what kind of results are those?
The impact itself, the debate it is generating, it's very healthy, it's very important. And we will actually scale up this to cover other areas that have previously not been covered by this gadget, so that all the highways are fully covered.
And when he talks about implementation being mostly in the areas where there are small roads and not necessarily highways, which are commonly the areas in which accidents do occur, can you give us any insight on that matter? Is that actually true?
Well, I think to me the most important question is, are you driving while you are drunk and are you on the way? It doesn't matter whether you are on a highway. It doesn't matter whether you are in an estate. It's the fact that are you drinking and driving? It doesn't matter where. You will be actually, as long as you are on the road.
But seeing as most accidents happen on the highway, would it not be logical then to have these tests occurring there?
Well, it is actually a fact that this accident happened on the major highways. And when you look at our operations, we have targeted the main arteries. It is not true to say that we've concentrated our efforts in estates and things like that. We've been all the major arteries in Nairobi. And Mombasa as well. And shortly we'll be actually seeing this activity actually escalate to other centers across the whole country.
Right. So, Mr. Muya, you've mentioned that you do support the initiative, but you're not happy with the implementation. So what then would you suggest as a way forward?
He belongs to the government, and the government has all statistics on where these accidents occur. It has on which areas, which roads, what times, what type of vehicles mostly are assumed to cause major accidents. But what we are saying is the opposite. Right now, okay, he might say we are going to expand to the provinces. Right now, 100% effort of breathalyzer test is concentrated in Nairobi. Can he tell us what percentage of accidents or deaths on Kenyan road happened in Nairobi? And I'll specifically say it is not in the major arteries. Kilimani area is not a major artery. Runda Estate is not a major artery. Neither is High Ridge or South Sea Mosque. It's not a major artery in this road. These campaigns, the way it's done now, it is obvious to the eyes of everybody. It's becoming a cash cow. We saw last weekend a test in Mulolongo. If you are found having exceeded the limit, your car is towed all the way to Ruaraka Traffic Headquarters. Besides the fines that you are reading in the media, motorists have to pay 10, 15, 20,000 to get their cars. Thereafter, take their cars to the garage for repairs. And I don't think, even in the last 1 month, that these checks have occurred. They have reduced any accident. I operate on Agwins Kodek, for instance. Can I be told how many accidents in 2013, 2012 have occurred against Agwins Kodek? Yet, these checks are there every day.
So, Mr. Major, he mentioned this operation being a cash cow. What do you have to say about that?
Well, let me first say that the reason why this campaign has been very impactful is because of the nature in which we have deliberately implemented it. It is being supervised by very senior officials, I personally being one of them, who are involved on the road to ensure the integrity of the process. The question of that, like the issue he gave of Mulolongo, vehicles were not towed to Ruaraka. They were towed to the closest police station. And we are giving motorists an opportunity. If you are caught driving and you are alone, we give you the opportunity, call whoever you know who can drive and is sober to drive away your car. If you are not able to, the logical thing to do is we can't leave that vehicle on the road. So naturally, if at the close of our operation, you have not been able to identify somebody to drive away your car, we can't leave it and abandon it on the road, because at the end of the day, we are responsible for it. The issues of saying that Nairobi accidents are, let's show the figures. I want to tell the public this, that majority of the accidents actually are pedestrians, contrary to what actually most of the people think that are vehicles. Either these pedestrians are knocked down by speeding vehicles, some of them by drunkard people. But the bottom line is the law is very clear. You are not allowed to drink and drive. So whether you're on a highway, whether you are on a road that is within the estate, it doesn't mean that when you are within the estate, we suspend the law. We are just implementing the law as it is. And I believe one of the reasons why this campaign has been very effective is because of the way we have deliberately implemented it.
Right. Another question, maybe. How did you arrive at the 0.3 level for being the benchmark? Because in some countries it goes as high as 0.08, sorry. And also sometimes they have different numbers for different types of drivers. So what was the process used to arrive at that number?
We looked at international best practice on countries who have implemented these facilities in a very effective manner. And we looked at our case as a country, and we thought 3.5 is the best, and it is enacted in the law. So it is within the Traffic Act that the maximum limit is 0.35.
And then, speaking again, as you said, of the law, so maybe you can clarify a few things for us. Mm-hmm. So the police can only stop you if you've broken a traffic law, or can the police stop you regardless of whether you've broken a traffic law or not? Which one of those is lawful?
Maybe I would request you to repeat the question. I didn't get it quite right.
Okay. The law says the police can only stop you if you have broken a traffic law.
Yes.
Is that correct or incorrect?
It is correct. And in relevance to what we are discussing, we stop motorists at random. We check. And we don't just test people even before we check. You examine the person to see his alertness. We ask them to step down, stand on one foot to see whether they're able to maintain their balance. If for one reason we suspect that this person is drunk, then that is when the person is taken through the exercise of being tested.
So if this person has not actually broken a traffic law, should
Yes.
they then be subjected to this treatment if they haven't actually done anything wrong yet?
Oh, yes. Let me give you a practical example. On Friday night, I was involved in the Mulolongo operation. One of the persons, as one of the drivers was being chased, was coming speeding at a very high speed. We tried warning the person that to slow down and to calm down. And because he was not alert because he was under the influence of alcohol, he came banging onto the vehicle that was being inspected. That is a practical case that we saw it ourselves, and the media, I'm happy, were there, of a person, the effect of alcohol while you are drinking. Their alertness levels are actually very low. This person was one very far. He was not able to observe that warning, and he came and rammed to a vehicle that was being checked on. So those are the many cases. And I will give you another example. Before we started this exercise, on the major arteries, look at Langata Road, for instance, every Saturday morning, you would see a vehicle that is on top of a roundabout, meaning that whoever was driving this vehicle was not alert to know that there's a roundabout ahead of you. So they will come straight on the top of the roundabout. Since we started this exercise, these incidences have drastically reduced, and that is our intention. We have no intentions of interfering with anybody's business. All we are interested is to ensure that the safety of the public, the drivers who are on the road, and the innocent people even who are walking around are safe.
Right. So, Mr. Muya, if I can just come back to you. How has this actually affected your business? Because I'm sure that we are finding some common ground here. You do support the initiative, but this is having an effect on your business and your livelihood. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, it is having an effect on our businesses because, as I said earlier, the exercise seems to target specific areas and specific people. In this particular time, it is targeting people who are going home from entertainment, sports. Okay? I would like to get a breakdown from him. He has not mentioned about PSV vehicles. That's where most of our accidents come from, PSV. They start their operation between 10 and 11. There's no PSV vehicle on the way. It's only private cars. And the statistics has shown in Nairobi, I have statistics, in Nairobi at night, in the year 2012 and 2013, small cars contributed only 7% of the accidents. The rest, 93%, it was either PSV, it was either trailers, either it was pedestrians, as he said, and very many other facts. Now, he talked of the, let me comment on the level 0.35. Yes, the NTSA or the ministry has chosen the level 0.35. They have not even explained me, an established owner, what the quantity of alcohol is that. How much is that in terms of wine, in terms of beer, in terms of spirits? It has just come. In the international best practice countries, these levels are differentiated according to the class of driver.
Yes, as you
if I got my license yesterday, and you have been driving for the last 10 years, we cannot have the same level.
Well, clearly there are still some questions to be answered, but I'd like to thank you both for coming and raising both sides of that debate. Well, you can actually join this conversation. Let us know what you think about this, whether this operation should actually be suspended. And you can get in touch with us by SMSing us on 22155. You can also tweet us at Kacungira, at Ben_Kitili, and at KTN Kenya. Looking forward to hearing your responses this evening. We're going to take a quick break, but stay here. These stories still ahead on KTN Prime. Just ahead, Bensouda sustains pressure on President Uhuru Kenyatta's case.
Kilia kana makelele haitasaidia Kiambu. Kile kitasaidia Kiambu ni sisi kila mtu kushikilia mahali alichaguliwa. Mimi nikiwa MCA niende nifanye legislation zile ambazo zitakuja zisaidie watu wa Kameno na watu wa Kiambu kwa jumla. Wale wako central government nao pia sababu wanatengeneza zao na hata hizo zao pia zinatufinya. Tafadhali wakiwa kule juu pia nao wafikirie huyo mwananchi ni ule tu ambaye na sisi huku chini tunamkuta, lakini tusije tukaangalia upande mmoja.
You're watching KTN Prime.
Welcome back to KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us.
Take you back to Mombasa, and over 100 people, including minors, will spend tonight in remand cells in Mombasa following yesterday's clashes at the Masjid Musa Mosque. The suspects were arraigned in court on charges of terrorism, with the police insisting that age will not be a factor in their investigations. KTN's Ferdinand Omondi has the latest.
125 people were arraigned before the Shanzu Law Court in Mombasa to face charges of engaging in terrorism. Among them were minors who will spend the night at the Shimolatewa Remand Prison after senior resident magistrate James Ombura granted the prosecution 5 more days to conduct investigations. However, their parents are terrified of the prospect of their children being behind bars until the 7th of February, when the case will be mentioned again.
Leo ilikuwa ni mpaka vifaranga pia. Hii alishababu mpaka vifaranga. Hawa vifaranga wanajua kushika bunduki kweli?
Mtoto wangu ameshikwa. Miaka 12. Miaka 12 anaweza kupigana jihadi.
Tumekaa kutoka jana, sisi hatujapata nayo. Alipika chakula, watoto wameenda kwa chakula kula. Baada ya chakula ndo wakaja wakachukua. Tuonesheni mtupe watoto wetu. Watoto ni wadogo na wanateseka.
Others in the dock included 3 women, 2 of whom are nursing babies. 4 of the 129 arrested were reportedly nursing injuries at the Coast General Hospital. A day earlier, police stormed the Masjid Musa in Majengo after claiming they were attacked when they went to foil a suspected terrorist recruitment exercise. Police say 2 people died and 2 policemen were seriously injured, although Haki Africa, a human rights organization, claims the number of the dead could be as high as 7. Local leaders have been very critical of the police operation in the mosque.
What the police have done yesterday is nothing short of it being anything else except terrorism.
The attack on Masjid Musa was unwarranted and unjustifiable. It shrouds its legitimacy on the inherent state of fear.
But law enforcement has defended itself, saying they were violently provoked.
One of them actually snatched the gun from the police officer. Our police officers moved to the scene as early as 10 in the morning, just trying to talk to them to come out. They refused, and they were armed.
An AK-47 assault rifle and crude weapons were recovered from the mosque. The distinct black flag with the symbol of 2 rifles, which is linked to the dreaded terror group Al-Shabaab, hung from several points of the mosque. However, local leaders maintain that storming the mosque was misadvised.
How do you arrest a 12-year-old child? How do you make a child want to jump on top of a mosque because he's seeing people being shot? What is wrong with you?
See what was found in the mosque. An AK-47, pangas, knives, Al-Shabaab flags. Is that a mosque to go and worship?
An afternoon meeting between law enforcers and the leaders appeared to have ended sourly. They came out and addressed the press separately. The leaders want the minors released, but police maintain age will not be a factor when dealing with the suspects. Political leaders and activists are adamant that the manner in which police conducted the operation was extreme. However, the law enforcers are challenging the leaders to step up to the plate and bring their people to order, and are keeping open the option of closing down the mosques as a matter of last resort. Ferdinand Omondi, KTN, Mombasa.
Further afield, prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Fatou Bensouda, has asked the court to adjourn President Uhuru Kenyatta's case pending compliance by the Kenya government. This seemingly passive-aggressive request comes less than 24 hours before a scheduled status conference that was to address, among other things, Bensouda's request to have President Kenyatta's case postponed until the prosecution gathers sufficient evidence.
For the following acts constituting crimes against humanity.
Adjourn the accused's case until the GOK complies with its obligations. This is the last of 3 requests that Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda has made in her latest application to the International Criminal Court. The prosecutor has previously argued that the Kenyan government, despite verbal assurances, is not entirely cooperative with the Hague-based court, and now she wants the case against President Uhuru Kenyatta suspended indefinitely until the Kenyan government complies. But this request is a last resort. First on Bensouda's list is a request to the judges to reject an application by Uhuru's lawyers to terminate the proceedings entirely. Bensouda argues termination is a premature request. Second on her list is her request to the court to adjudicate an application on Kenya's alleged non-compliance with the court.
24th of January 2008.
But comply is a one tune both President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto have churned since the ICC cases against them began.
I have submitted to the jurisdiction of this court when required, and will, without any fear of contradiction, do so in the future.
A declaration that has been difficult for the prosecution to swallow. Some have, however, argued that government's non-compliance with the court would not be far-fetched, given the nature in which the International Criminal Court came to Kenya.
Kenya is the first case where an investigation was opened on the basis of the prosecution's own proprietor powers.
History notwithstanding, Bensouda's team says Kenya, as a signatory of the Rome Statute, is obliged to cooperate with the court, but Bensouda's allegations have always been met with resistance.
You are dealing with a prosecutor that has tried consistently and in the teeth of the evidence to try and put a case before you based upon bad evidence.
It remains to be seen if the judges will address these issues on Wednesday when the status conference takes place. Edith Kimani, KTN.
We now go over to our business studio where Bonnie Tunya is going to give us the latest. Now, Bonnie, is it true that most Kenyans don't know that there's actually a forum for them to discuss county budgets?
It's not that they don't know, they're least concerned. So we'll tell you why you, if you are Kenyan, would be to blame for all the things that are happening wrong in your county.
Kenyans not interested in county development forums, says a new report.
You're watching KTN Prime.
Hello and good evening. My name is Bonnie Tunya and this is Business. Now, you are to blame for the outrageous taxes and levies introduced by your governor, as well as the failure of your county to dedicate funds to development. This is according to a new report by the National Taxpayers Association that shows that the majority of Kenyans are least concerned or even aware of the existence of a county budget and the economic forum as required by law.
In the first quarter of this financial year, the Controller of Budget raised a red flag over the fact that more than half of the 47 counties did not use even a single coin of their allocated funds to development projects in their respective counties. In a study by the National Taxpayers Association, only 32% of respondents had knowledge of the county integrated development plans, with even fewer having attended forums meant to discuss the county's 5-year economic blueprint. So that you can as required by law, counties are obligated to involve residents in their development plans. The Public Finance Management Act of 2012 also demands for the establishment of a county budget and economic forum for purposes of consultation on county plans and budgets. The shocking news is that 74% of respondents did not know of the existence of such forums in their counties despite numerous public announcements on local newspapers. In law, such a forum should be made up of the county executives and an equal number of members of the public comprising professionals, business persons, women and persons with disability. The report also explains the recent clash between public and county governments of the introduction of unpleasant and punitive taxes and levies in various counties. citing little or no consultation between county leadership and the people they govern on the mode or raising and spending of revenue. A paltry 34% of the residents surveyed were satisfied with the consultation process that led to the drafting and adoption of the county development plans, levies and taxes.
The National Treasury is set to pay close to 1 billion with a B shillings in compensation for the land and property owners as the state prepares to pull down the town of Namanga to pave way for the construction of a one-stop border post facility. The National Land Commission, on behalf of the Kenya National Highways Authority, KENHA, has already shown intentions of acquiring 1.85 acres of both private and public land in Namanga. The plots belong to private individuals, Ministry of Immigration and the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure. Now, according to a feasibility study by the consulting group GIB Africa Limited, the total land to be taken by the new border post is estimated to 20 acres. The compensation includes, among others, the cost of the land, properties and business units and the loss of income due to the relocation of businesses. The project is a continuation of the construction of the Athi River Namanga roadside in Kenya. A bit of ICT now. In Westlands constituency has launched its first information communication technology hub targeting primary and secondary schools in the area. This area, the area of Member of Parliament, of the National Assembly, Timothy Wanyonyi, says it is to give the students leverage ahead of the planned government rollout. Implemented at a cost of 1.9 million shillings, the hub will serve as an e-learning center, providing laptops to hundreds of students in the area. The project has been implemented with the help of Mastech East Africa. The technology firm will also train teachers in the constituency on the use of the lab. The government was initially expected to roll out its one laptop per child policy at the beginning of the school term. However, this project has delayed in what is being attributed to tendering process.
This is a solution. It is been designed to make sure that the teacher is the manager of the classroom. You know, we are no longer in this age whereby the teacher has just computers in the classroom, but he or she can't do anything. You know, that if maybe the student or the pupil decides to maybe to go on Facebook, to play games, the teacher has no control. But now with whatever we've given here, it's going to be completely tightly managed and controlled by the teacher.
While the government is still waiting to implement the laptop project, as we have taken the lead in Westlands, we already have ours already functioning.
From Westlands, we go to the markets with a look at how your money is working for you on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, coming up next. So that's how business looks like on the day that Mumia's sugar was surprisingly the biggest gainer, moving up 8.4% with a good price of 3 shillings and 20 cents. We'll talk more numbers tomorrow. My name is Boni Tunya. Up next is Nick Mutimba with the sport.
KTN Business, in association with Safaricom Self-Care.
To get your M-Pesa statement, PUK, Bongo Points and more without calling customer care or visiting a Safaricom shop, simply log on to www.safaricom.co.ke and click on Self-Care.
Time now for Ktn Sports. I'm Nicholas Mudimba. Now I begin in Nakuru, where it is often said that good deed is rewarded. For 18-year-old Boniface Akenga from Nakuru, his exploits as a soccer player has seen him earn secondary education as his employer. Top Fry Nakuru All-Stars have been sponsoring him in his education at the Spotlight Academy. Akenga will be in and out of class this season as he tries to help his team shine in its first year in the top flight football. Victor Gale reports.
Boniface Akenga will be among the youngest players in the Kenyan Premier League whose rise to top flight football has been through perseverance, hard work and sacrifice. Boni, as he is known to his peers, joined Top Fry Nakuru All-Stars, while in Form 2 years ago and distinguished himself as a promising striker. In 2012, he earned a position in the senior team where he hopes to debut in the Kenyan Premier League with the promoted Top Fry. And while he shines on the pitch, he needs not to worry about his school fees.
Kulingana na ripoti za walimu, Boniface kulingana na mini grade anaenda beyond C+.
Kuna zile programs tumefanya na shule yao. Wakati tunafanya mazoezi, tunawataka mazoezi. Tukimaliza mazoezi, wanarudi shuleni.
Akenga begins his day as early as 7, then heads to his training base at the Nakuru Athletics Club for 2 hours before going back to class.
Hii mpira imenisaidia sana kwa sababu hiyo ndio inanilipia fee na inanilipa.
Saizi yeye ni role models role model kwa watu, hata mali haiko saizi shuleni.
For an 18-year-old, this could be a tough schedule, but Boni knows and understands how far soccer has brought him and where it can take him.
Saa zingine na unapata umetoka kiwanja umeumia, ukienda class inakuwa ngumu kiasi, ama umetoka umechoka, ukienda class concentration iko chini kiasi.
Akenga looks forward to Top Fry's opening match away to Sony Sugar in Awendo on the 15th of February. Victor Ogale, KTN Sports.
To volleyball now, the Egyptian national men's team has arrived in Nairobi for this week's masculine World Cup qualifier. The North Africans will face Egypt, Rwanda, Burundi and Uganda in their zone. Kenyan's men's coach Ktn Weather reiterated his warning to the Pharaohs that the zone's ticket is Kenya's. The men's World Cup is scheduled for Warsaw, Poland, and the women's edition will be staged in Italy. When the men's African World Cup qualifier starts on February 6th in Nairobi, the participating teams will be focusing on the single ticket to the games in Warsaw. Egypt has been a hard nut to crack over the years for Kenyan men's team, which is why the National Federation enlisted the services of Australian coach Chris Grant, who spent over a week with the team. The team's head coach Ktn Weather is not mincing his words in reference to Egypt.
Kila team ni nzuri ambayo itakuja katika hii competition kwa sababu kila mtu amepita round 1, amepita round 2. So kila mtu ni mzuri.
The Kenya Volleyball Federation has its hands full since it will be hosting the women's version of the qualifier after the men's. Lucky for Kenya Volleyball Federation, Kasarani Indoor Gymnasium is now available to all the teams.
Our men's team might just write history this week by qualifying for the very first time for the World Championship. They have a good chance, and I believe, having watched them train, they are well motivated and they should win.
There are 4 pools in 5 teams in Africa fighting for the 4 slots. Kenya is in Pool U together with Egypt, Cape Verde, Botswana and Zambia. It is a full house in the cup and the players are ready to roll in their first match against Cape Verde on Thursday at 4 p.m.
All the teams are equally good, but our major competition will be Egypt. They are the best team in Africa, and we have to do our part to win that game.
1-2 Kenya! The Masculine World Championships will be hosted by Poland from 30th of August to 21st of September. A look at tennis now. Second seed in the single boys during the ongoing International Tennis Federation second leg. Mbidi Mwenda is the only remaining player. Mbidi qualified for the 3rd round of the Nairobi club, while the pair of Ibrahim Yego Kibet and Kevin Cheriot advanced to the 2nd round in the boys doubles. It has not been an easy walk for the Kenyan players in this tournament, and the first leg a week ago where most of them were eliminated early. Mbidi will play Amori Debi in the 3rd round on Tuesday after seeing off Georgios Klimshevili in the 2nd round today. Kevin Cheriot lost his singles match in the 2nd after going down to 4th seed Martin Smolski from Poland. All right, I'm Nicholas Mudimba. Have yourself a blessed night.
KTN Weather Forecast, brought to you by Mortein Doom Cockroach Killer.
In cracks where cockroaches hide, use Mortein Doom Power Guard in drains to kill them before they come out. Spray Mortein Doom Power Guard in dustbins too. Mortein Doom! The ultimate cockroach killer.
And before we wrap up this bulletin, let's take you to our big question tonight. We were asking you, do you support proposals to suspend the suspension of the alcohol law?
Right, and let's take a look at what you say, Ben. The people have spoken. 67% say no, they do not support the proposal to suspend alcohol, and only 33% say that they do support that proposal. Let's take a look at some of your tweets. Thank you very much for sending them in. Van Sami Adura says it's for our own good. We should definitely accept it. We've also got one here from Effie Kaburu who says, yes, saving lives should be all-inclusive. Let them inform on the gadget status first.
Manu Gombo says, power bonus need to get with the program and adjust. Lost a couple of friends to drunk driving. Christian Ogola says, no, let's improve how it's implemented, but it has had a positive effect, like speed guns.
And Geoffrey Kakai says, yes, I support the stoppage and immediate withdrawal of breathalyzer. And thank you for sending in your opinions. It's been great having your company this evening. I'm Nancy Kacungira. Our sign language interpreter was Nerissa Owiti. Thank you so much for joining us and hope to see you tomorrow.
Many thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Ben Kitili. Good night.